So this is indeed the Oz report for August 26, 2023. And we're going to start the way that I always love to start, and that's with the Plex and Plex adjacent items. So let's start with Plex itself, right? So we have several sales going on in the game right now, and that is on the one hand a 10% Plex sale in the cash store, the Eve store on the website, but then we also have a 15% sale on Omega Time if you pay by Plex in the NES store. So those two will be pushing Plex in two different directions. And what that has done in this case is, yes, 10% is a significant sale in the cash store, but 15% of Omega is much more significant. And so what has happened here, it has pushed the Plex price over 5 million, quite significantly. So we're looking at a 5% at least uptick here. Intermittently, it was even higher. So this is putting pressure on Plex pricing upward. So the history that we have seen over the last few years continues, that we're seeing regular massive sales here that impact skill extractor prices, that impact Plex prices because of sales on Omega Time. And so you can expect, I think, going forward to still to be able to regularly buy Plex when it comes back down, hold it, wait until there's a sale, and very regularly it spikes and you can sell it. Not for 20% profit, that would be crazy on Plex, but you can always grab your 5 to 10% profit after fees. So this is very, very interesting. And Plex, I've said that before, Plex has moved from something that I didn't touch before to something that I now have to invest in, because there's just really good money being made in the Plex sale. Now, moving over to large skill injectors. Large skill injectors continue to drop in price. I called this for a long time. A lot of people were saying I was wrong about this, but it's inevitable to me, and you were seeing this now. There is still if you're looking at skill farming profits, there's still a 1.7 million profit being made per account in skill farming, right? That is very significant, and that is despite a very high Plex price, which is making skill farming more expensive. The reason it is so profitable is because we still have fairly high skill injector prices. You might not believe this since you're looking at a falling graph, but these are still historically high prices. And on the other hand, we have very cheap skill extractor prices because the skill extractors never recovered fully after the last massive sale. That last massive sale in June, it was higher than anything we had seen before. It dropped way low. It has recovered since, but very, very slowly. If we look at the orders for skill extractors, we can see that there are so many people selling large quantities of skill extractors that this is going to take a long, long time to recover. And I'm saying this, holding over $1 trillion in skill extractors, right? So I'm not happy about this, but this is the fact. There are just too many out there. It's taking a long time to recover. I still think it will recover because I can't see them doing a massive sale like that before. Those numbers were just crazy, but it's going to take a long time. So that means going forward, skill farming for the near future is going to be very profitable. A lot of people have spun up skill farms. Large skill extractor prices are still going to be dropping. So if you're skill farming right now, I don't think it's a time where you sit on a bunch of skill extractors. I think you have to sell them as soon as they come out if you're skill farming, because or if you're just extracting your own, if you're not farming it, if you're just extracting your character to fund some other project that you're working on, then you want to sell them immediately because large skill injector prices are going to be dropping. I don't see any way around that. And I know I sound like a broken record, but this is just a very, very important thing to know in EVE markets right now. Going hand in hand with that are the master at arms cerebral accelerators. Now, those are way too expensive now. They've been rising in price. If you can compare their effectiveness to large skill extractors, I said this 2 weeks ago in the last Oz report as well, they are just too expensive. I don't know who's driving this. I don't know who would be buying these, because it's much better deal to buy large skill injectors, unless you're talking about characters that have 50 million or more, then it's comparable or cheaper. So we're talking, the only way this makes sense is if we're seeing lots of veteran characters buying these master arm cerebral accelerators, because for them large skill injectors are still more expensive than them, and apparently there's enough demand out there. But what I'm doing is I'm just liquidating, because master arm cerebral accelerators are to me at a very, very, very good sell price right now. Now, don't touch expert cerebral accelerators. I've said that many times. Let's look at some of the other categories, and I want to start with looking at items that I'm calling trading most undervalued, but they're really not. Okay, and we talked about this earlier on the stream, and that's the freighter category. So we're seeing among the top 10 most undervalued items by my standards, right? By what my dashboard calls undervalued, which is the current price compared to 52-week average. We have 3 freighters in the top 10. We have the Fenrir, the Providence, and the Obelisk all in the top 10. And that's because they are finally catching up to the build price. We see that in June, we saw the patch that significantly reduced the build cost of these. And now we're seeing, for the longest time, we saw still big margins on there, and it still was closing. And now it looks like the inventory is finally running out. That old inventory is finally running out, and it's now being, we're now approaching a price where the margin is similar to what we had before. So if you're holding freighters, I hope none of you are holding freighters for investment. But I guess if you're building freighters, you're back to where we were before. And now, if you were holding off to buying freighters or maybe even jump freighters, now we're getting into an area where it is a fair price again compared to build costs. And this, this is especially true this week for freighters who all lost quite significantly. So we're looking at the Fenrir here. You're looking at the Obelisk, which is just accelerating the drop, and the Providence is the one that held on the longest, but now is dropping quite significantly. The other items that are when I call them undervalued, of course they're not undervalued, right? They just adjusted their prices. Now my dashboard is stupid. My dashboard just looks at the 52-week average and says, these are trading much lower. But when BPCs are adjusted and build costs are now lower, that's just what happens. And so the other category are PI. So we have 3 low-level planetary goods in there. You can see here the oxides, the oxygen, and what's the other? The protein, right? You can see all of them similar trajectory, rising prices. In June, they had their volume halved, and I think there's also a correlation with skill farms maybe spinning up. So a lot of people are now able to run PI characters again, and a lot of people are able to move these goods much more easily. Before, it was very rare for the low tier items to actually hit the market. Now with the lower volume, there's actually an easier. Not only is it easier to run your skill farm because your PI farm, because the planets are running longer. Without you having to adjust them and reset them, but also you're now easily moving these items to the market, and that definitely has made a big difference. So now we're looking at at much cheaper cost. Also, I think a lot of these are now used less in capital production, if I remember correctly. And so all of that coming together, these prices are, these also mean that no, these are not undervalued. These are just being, these are just items that have corrected over the last 3 months, similar to the freighters that we were looking at. One last item I want to talk about in the Oz report today is Noxium, right? Let's see here. Where was it? Noxium here. So Noxium is interesting right now because Noxium is one of the basic minerals. It's a huge daily trade item, right? If you look at Noxium, it's double digit billions traded every single day, and the amount of Noxium exchanging hands is actually about 50 million a day if you look at this volume graph right here. So this is 50 million, and this is what's happening every day. If you look at what's out there right now, it's not nearly 50 million, especially not at current prices, right? I mean, these some of this, is still acceptable, but then it runs into crazy prices, right? So 50 million units, 50 billion ISK to address CJ in chat here. So this is a 50 million units, 50 billion ISK traded every single day. And so you're talking about an item that is running out of supply and at the same time hasn't spiked yet, right? So there is something about to happen with Noxium right here. I don't know if this is just a temporary low supply here, because we definitely didn't see low supply, in the last few weeks and months on these. But every once in a while, this does happen for minerals, and so this is definitely something where you can look for market opportunities, and it's very rare to see this type of bottleneck on basic minerals. Yes, Isogen and Megasite we already talked a lot in the last few weeks, but Noxium not so much. And possibly if there's not new supply coming here, then this might be the next bottleneck. So I think that's about it. One thing I want to mention that we talked about in stream earlier is Gurista modules, the faction modules obviously took a large hit. There's some very nice modules that are interesting and in high demand in the market. People for the event were hunting a lot of Guristas. Those modules might drop in price. If you can pick them up rather cheaply, then this might be a good thing to do. And I'm pretty sure there was another faction that people were hunting, but yeah, you can look that up and go look at those modules, see if they drop in price. It might take a week or two to also for people to put that on the market, but that is definitely a very good cyclical opportunity to take advantage of. Okay. So that's, I think, the Oz report for today, short and sweet. We're going to return to the regular stream, and I will see you guys next week for the Oz report.